There's a powder that costs less than $1 that kills ceiling mold permanently. Not masks it, not bleaches over it, kills it at the cellular level and leaves behind a shield that prevents it from ever coming back. A roofer would charge you $500 to $1,500 just to find the leak above that stain. A mold remediation company would bill you $2,000 to $5,000 to treat the surface underneath it. A painter would take another $300 to $800 to cover the discoloration left behind. That is $3,000 to $7,000 for a single ceiling in a single room. And the worst part is the mold comes back within months because none of those professionals fix the root cause. They do not fix it because a ceiling that stays moldy is a ceiling that keeps generating invoices. The average American mold remediation job costs $2,300 according to National Contractor data. The industry that sells those jobs is worth over $2 billion a year in the United States alone and growing at 5% to 6% annually. A $1 powder that eliminates the problem permanently cannot be allowed to exist inside that business model. But it does exist. It has existed for over 1,000 years, and this is the story of the cheapest, most effective mold killer on Earth that the remediation industry prays you never discover. Welcome to the Forbidden Home Science. If these stories matter to you, the subscribe button and the bell are the simplest way to preserve this knowledge. This is where we crack open the vaults the industry locked shut. Now let me take you back more than 200 years to where this powder was first discovered. Somewhere around the 8th century in the dry lake beds of Tibet, Silk Road traders stumbled upon a strange white mineral crusted along the edges of evaporated water. It looked like common salt, but behaved like nothing they had ever encountered before. It could clean metal so thoroughly that molten gold bonded perfectly during soldering. It preserved animal hides and killed fungus on contact without producing a single toxic fume. The Tibetans called it tinkle and began loading it onto camel caravans headed west across the ancient trade routes toward markets they knew would pay a fortune for it. By the time tinkle reached Persia and Arabia, blacksmiths and goldsmiths were treating it like a closely guarded trade secret worth more per ounce than many spices. The early Chinese documented its antifungal properties in medicinal texts. The Babylonians used it in textile preservation. The Egyptians used a similar compound in their embalming rituals. The Romans applied it in ceramic glazes that archaeologists still find intact in museum collections today. For centuries, the knowledge of this mineral passed quietly through civilizations, each one discovering independently that it could kill rot, prevent decay, and preserve materials that would otherwise disintegrate. But borax remained rare and astronomically expensive because Tibet was virtually the only known commercial source on the planet. Then in 1275, Marco Polo carried samples back to Europe, and the continent went mad for it. Venetian goldsmiths hoarded it. Glassmakers on the island of Murano built entire furnace operations around it. For 600 years, this single mineral shaped European metallurgy, ceramics, and preservation. Then in 1856, a geologist named John Veitch discovered massive deposits buried in the California desert. Suddenly, the rarest cleaning mineral on Earth was sitting in American dirt beneath Death Valley waiting to be scooped out of the ground. By 1883, William Coleman built the Harmony Borax Works and hired 20 mule teams to haul 10-ton wagons 165 miles across scorching desert to the nearest railroad. Those mule teams moved over 20 million pounds of borax out of Death Valley in 6 years without losing a single wagon. The mineral was borax, also known as sodium tetraborate, a naturally occurring alkaline salt with a pH of 9.3. And for over a century after that, every American grandmother kept a box of 20 mule team borax under her kitchen sink. It was the household standard for killing mold, limiting mildew, removing stains, neutralizing odors, and repelling insects. No protective gloves needed, no hazardous fumes, no corporate middleman standing between you and a clean ceiling. Then, in the mid-20th century, the synthetic cleaning industry exploded with billion-dollar brands flooding shelves with products wrapped in bright packaging and aggressive advertising. Borax got pushed to the bottom shelf, then to the back of the store, then out of public memory entirely. Not because it stopped working, because it worked too well and cost too little for the new industry to tolerate. This video is just the surface of what has been hidden from you. I have collected everything the cleaning and restoration industry does not want you to know, all in the complete Forbidden Home Science Vault. Mold elimination methods that cost pennies and outperform $1,000 professional treatments. Wood restoration techniques the lumber industry buried to keep selling you expensive replacements. DIY waterproofing sealants that protect surfaces for years without a contractor. Pest control formulas indigenous cultures perfected centuries before the chemical industry existed, emergency shelter builds that cost nothing and outperform $200 tents, and much more. Over 10 guides in one place. No fluff, straight to the point. The link is in the description. But stay right here because the science behind this powder is about to change how you look at every moldy ceiling in America. Here is what happens at the molecular level when borax contacts mold colonies on a damp ceiling surface. Mold is a fungus, and like most fungi, it thrives in slightly acidic environments, typically between a pH of 3.5 and 7. Borax registers at a pH of 9.3, which is aggressively alkaline, far outside the survival range of virtually every common household mold species, including the dreaded black mold known as Stachybotrys. When you dissolve 1 cup of borax in a gallon of hot water and apply it to a moldy ceiling, the alkaline solution penetrates the colony and disrupts the cell membranes of the fungal organisms. It starves the mold at the cellular level by interfering with the metabolic enzymes it needs to survive. Research documented by the United States Environmental Protection Agency confirmed that a 2.5% borax solution completely inhibits mold growth on treated surfaces, not reduces growth, not slows reproduction, completely inhibits it. But here is where borax accomplishes something that no commercial mold spray on the market can replicate. When the water evaporates, borax leaves behind a thin crystalline residue bonded to the surface. That residue maintains the alkaline environment long after the treatment is done. Any mold spores that drift through the air and land on that treated ceiling cannot germinate in that hostile pH. They cannot reproduce. They cannot feed. They cannot establish a new colony. It is a passive antifungal shield that lasts months without reapplication and without emitting a single fume. Now compare that mechanism to bleach, the product Illers, the commercial cleaning industry, pushes harder than anything else on the shelf. Bleach is sodium hypochlorite. It oxidizes the surface pigment of mold, which means it turns the black stain white so your ceiling looks clean. But bleach evaporates completely within hours, leaving zero protective residue behind. Within weeks, mold grows right back over the exact same spot because the surface has no defense against new spore colonization. Hydrogen peroxide, another popular recommendation, has the same limitation. It bubbles on contact and kills surface mold effectively, but leaves nothing behind to prevent regrowth. A 2013 study testing hydrogen peroxide against 6 common household fungi confirmed it works on hard, non-porous surfaces but fails on porous materials like drywall and wood, the exact materials your ceiling is made of. Vinegar, the other internet favorite, is acidic with a pH around 2.5. And while it kills certain species like penicillium, it was found ineffective against aspergillus, one of the most common mold types found in damp walls and ceilings. Borax outperforms all 3 because it kills on contact, penetrates porous surfaces better than bleach or peroxide, and leaves behind the only residue that actually prevents the mold from returning. That is not a design flaw in those other products. That is the entire business model behind those products. A cleaner that makes the stain disappear today but guarantees the mold returns next month is a cleaner that guarantees repeat purchases forever. Borax does the opposite. It solves the problem once and the customer never comes back. And that is precisely why you have never seen a single television commercial telling you to use it on your ceiling. The numbers tell the rest of the story, and the numbers are devastating. If you have made it this far, you already know more about ceiling mold than 99% of homeowners in this country. Subscribe and share this with someone who is about to write a $4,000 check to a remediation company that will not fix the problem. Everything the industry buried is in the complete vault. Link in the description. Now stay with me because this next part is the one they really do not want you to hear. The mold remediation industry in the United States generates over $2 billion in annual revenue. The global market crossed $1.2 billion in 2023 and is projected to reach $1.7 billion by 2032. That revenue depends on one thing and one thing only: repeat customers. Think about the structure of the business for a moment. A homeowner sees black spots spreading across a bathroom ceiling and panics. They call a remediation company that charges $10 to $25 per square foot just for the treatment. The company sprays a commercial antimicrobial, sets up containment barriers, runs air scrubbers, and hands the homeowner a bill averaging $2,300. The ceiling looks pristine when they leave. But here is what they never mention. Most commercial antimicrobial sprays evaporate completely like bleach, leaving no lasting residue and zero long-term protection. If the moisture source is not corrected, and remediation companies rarely correct it because that is not their scope, the mold returns within months. The homeowner calls again, pays again, and the profit cycle restarts. Ceiling mold remediation alone costs between $1,000 and $9,000 per job, depending on severity. 35% of all residential mold removal jobs in the country involve interior walls or ceilings, making it the single largest category in the entire market. Labor alone for mold remediation runs $75 to $120 per hour, and the average job takes 3 to 7 days according to industry data. When you add in the inspection fees, the containment setup, the air scrubber rental, the antimicrobial chemicals, and the post-treatment testing, a single bathroom ceiling can generate thousands in revenue for a company that shows up, sprays, and leaves. That is not a service model. That is a subscription model disguised as a repair. Now imagine if every one of those homeowners knew that a box of Borax from the laundry aisle costing $3 to $5 treats an entire house worth of ceiling mold. 1 cup dissolved in 1 gallon of hot water applied with a $2 spray bottle from any hardware store. No containment barriers, no air scrubbers, no hazmat suits, no 48-hour drying protocol. And unlike every commercial product on the market, the borax residue stays on the surface, creating a permanent alkaline barrier that prevents recolonization. The remediation company does not just lose a customer, they lose that customer forever. You cannot patent borax. It is a naturally occurring mineral in the public domain for over 1,000 years. You cannot create a proprietary version that forces quarterly repurchases. You cannot build a $2 billion industry around a solution that any homeowner can execute in 30 minutes with a spray bottle. So the solution had to be buried, not banned, not outlawed, just quietly removed from the conversation by an industry that had no financial incentive to mention it, pushed off the shelf by retailers who make higher margins on branded alternatives, left out of contractor recommendations because no contractor earns a commission on a $3 box from the laundry aisle, excluded from home improvement television shows whose advertising revenue comes directly from the companies selling $60 mold sprays, and replaced in the public mind with products that cost 50 times more and work half as well, but generate the repeat purchases that keep the entire ecosystem profitable. The system does not need borax to fail, it just needs you to forget that borax exists. And for decades, that strategy worked perfectly across every state in the country, until now. Here is exactly what to do, and I'm going to walk you through every step. Go to any grocery store or hardware store and find the laundry aisle. Look for a box of sodium tetraborate, most commonly sold under the brand name 20 Mule Team Borax. It costs between $3 and $5 for a 4-pound box. That single box will treat every ceiling in a typical 3-bedroom house with powder left over. Step 1. Identify every ceiling surface in your home that shows signs of mold. Look for black spots, green discoloration, or those telltale yellow water stain rings that indicate past moisture damage. Step 2. Put on a basic dust mask and rubber gloves. Borax is not toxic to breathe in normal concentrations, but mold spores become airborne when disturbed, so protect yourself. Step 3. Dissolve 1 cup of borax powder in 1 gallon of hot water in a bucket. Stir until the powder is completely dissolved. The liquid should be clear. Step 4. Pour the solution into a standard spray bottle and saturate the moldy ceiling area completely. Do not be shy with the application. The surface needs to be visibly wet. Step 5. Let the solution sit for 15 to 20 minutes so the alkaline compound can penetrate and destroy the fungal cells beneath the surface. Step 6. Scrub with a stiff bristle brush or heavy-duty sponge. The black discoloration lifts off as dead mold separates from the ceiling. Step 7, and this is the critical step. Do not rinse the borax off. Let the ceiling air dry with the borax residue still on the surface. That thin mineral layer is your long-term antifungal barrier. It is what prevents the mold from ever returning to that spot. Step 8, if you want to paint over the treated area afterward, let the surface dry completely for 24 hours and then apply a stain-blocking primer before your finish coat. The borax residue bonds to the sealing material underneath the paint and continues protecting the surface even after you cover it. Total cost for treating an average bathroom ceiling, less than $1 in borax, $2 for a spray bottle, and 30 minutes of your time. Want to do the entire house? Bathroom ceiling, bedroom corners, garage walls, and that persistent mold ring around the kitchen exhaust? Total cost is still under $5 with the same box. Compare that to the $2,000 to $5,000 a professional remediation company would charge you for a single bathroom ceiling using products that do not prevent the mold from coming back. That is a price difference of over 99% for a treatment that actually works better and lasts longer than what the professionals use. A retired contractor in Ohio posted online that he treated his entire basement ceiling with this exact method after 2 different remediation companies failed to stop recurring black mold. That was 3 years ago, and the mold has not returned once. Another homeowner in Houston used the same approach on a bedroom ceiling after Hurricane Harvey damage. Applied once, sealed with primer, and the ceiling has been clean for years, while neighbors who hired professionals have retreated the same surfaces multiple times. Now, I need to be honest with you about one important limitation. Borax works on surface mold that has not penetrated deep into structural materials. If your ceiling drywall is soft, crumbling, or warped from long-term water saturation, you may need to replace that section of drywall entirely before treating the new surface. Borax kills mold and prevents regrowth, but it cannot reverse structural damage that has already occurred. And if you have an active roof leak or plumbing leak above the ceiling, you must fix that moisture source first, or no treatment on earth will keep the mold away permanently. Borax is not magic, it is chemistry, and chemistry needs the right conditions to work. But for the vast majority of ceiling mold cases where the moisture source has been addressed and the surface material is still intact, this $1 treatment outperforms everything the professional industry offers at a fraction of 1% of the cost. The ancient Tibetans knew this mineral killed fungus 1,200 years ago when they packed it onto caravans and sent it across the largest trade network the world had ever seen. Egyptians knew it when they used it to preserve the bodies of pharaohs. The Romans knew it when they sealed ceramic vessels that would outlast their entire empire. Your grandmother knew it when she kept a box of it under the sink next to the dish soap and never called a single professional to clean her ceiling in her entire life. The United States Environmental Protection Agency tested it and confirmed it works. The mold remediation industry looked at those same results and prayed you would never see them. We did not lose borax, we were made to forget it. But forgetting is not permanent, it never is. The powder is still sitting on the shelf in every grocery store in America. $3 bottom shelf laundry aisle waiting for you to remember what your grandparents never had to be told. If this video opened a vault for you, subscribe and share it with every homeowner you know who has ever stared at a moldy ceiling and felt helpless. Every share preserves what the industry tried to erase. Every subscription keeps this channel digging up the knowledge they buried. The next vault opens soon, and what the roofing industry hid inside it is even heavier than what you just learned today.